It's another Friday, and it's another breaking news morning here at the Alabama Football Report. Five-star quarterback in the 2024 class, Julian Sayin, is going to enter the NCAA transfer portal. This is a big shock. This is one that I did not see coming at all. You know, Julian Sayin being a guy that loves to sling the rock. Kalen DeBoer coming in, I thought he was going to be this guy that offensive players saw and we're going to be excited about, especially what he did with Washington last year. Doesn't necessarily seem to be the case. Now, obviously, Isaiah Bond, he left. He entered the portal before they even made the hire. Amari Niblack hit the portal. He's going to be joining Bond at Texas. I get it. Sark's an offensive genius. I understand that. But Kalen DeBoer, what we saw the last 2 years at Washington was absolutely incredible. And he's bringing in Ryan Grubb, one of the best, if not the best, offensive coordinators in the country right now. Man, I really thought these offensive players were going to be excited about the new Alabama head coaching hire in Kalen DeBoer. Now, specifically on Sayin, it's all about relationships for these kids. And when, you're talking to Nick Saban for 3-4 years as Sayin was, because, for a long time, everybody knew in the recruiting world that this guy was going to be a guy. He isn't the number one quarterback in the 2024 class for no reason. People knew that he was a special kid from early on. And they created these relationships a long time ago. And at the end of the day, he doesn't have the relationship with Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb. So give me your one-word reaction right now to how you guys are feeling. Julian Sayin entering the NCAA transfer portal. My one word, disappointed, maybe. I'm not sad that these guys are leaving. Like I said, they didn't commit to play for Kalen DeBoer, so I'm not sad about it. I'm just disappointed because I just really thought offensive guys were going to love this hire. And so far, 4 if you count Caden Proctor as well, massive offensive players end up leaving after the hire, man. It's a tough one to swallow. Now, I do have to make note, too, these guys are in school. So the transfer portal was based off the academic calendar, and they have to make a decision now. It doesn't necessarily mean he is leaving. If you're entering the portal, at this point, I don't see how you're going to come back. But these guys have to make a decision. They have to withdraw from their classes at Alabama at a certain time. They don't necessarily get the whole 30 days because they have to withdraw from classes at Alabama, and they have to register for classes wherever they're going, to this new school, wherever they're going. So there is a time frame, really, that they have to meet when it comes to academics. So the whole 30 days thing, it's really less than that when you factor in school and, everything else. And one thing I have seen a couple people, just like on Twitter and message boards talk about is, why aren't they giving it through the spring? See how things go, see how he operates. Well, you want to be where you're going to be for spring ball. You don't want to wait until after spring ball necessarily. That's why when guys are coming out of high school, we're seeing now, 90% of the class, of the recruiting class, is trying to graduate high school early and get there in December so they can start, during bowl practice. You start during bowl practice, you're there months before spring. You start learning the offense, defense, whatever side of the ball you play. You get into those programs, the strength programs and everything. You want to be there for spring ball. So I understand these guys making the decision now, not waiting until after spring, especially a freshman like Julian Sayin, he wants all the time he can with a new coach and, wherever he's going to be. And I wish him luck. I'm not mad at the kid or anything like that. He built the relationships with a completely different group of people. Like, he doesn't necessarily even know these guys, Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb. But, man, this is a tough one to swallow. And at the end of the day, the transfer portal, I'm not upset about the transfer portal, but I do think something needs to be fixed with the transfer portal. It's every time they change something or make a new rule, there's something else that pops up. So let me know right now, guys. Alabama has had a flurry of players enter the transfer portal since Nick Saban's retirement. A couple before, but a lot since Nick Saban's retirement. Let me know in the comments section, how many more players do you think enter the transfer portal before the window closes? I don't know what that answer is. I hope it's not a lot more, but I think with Caleb Downs leaving, that could be kind of like the breaking point, because Caleb Downs, in my opinion, is a freshman, obviously, but he's way more mature beyond his years. Yeah, he's one of these guys that waited a while. A few guys jumped in immediately, and whatever, that's on them. But Caleb Downs, he's a guy that waited. He went to multiple player meetings. You saw in that video when Kalen DeBoer originally talked to the Alabama team that very first night, Jalen Milroe and Caleb Downs were the last two guys out of that meeting room talking to Kalen DeBoer, dapping him up, giving him a hug. And Caleb Downs was also the guy, the day before he entered the transfer portal, was at a team meeting. So he listened to him. He gave him a shot. He let him hire his guys. But at the end of the day, the guys that he brought in wasn't enough for him. So I do think there's going to be more. I don't know how many, at this point. I don't know who it's going to be. But, it is what it is. I do think the transfer portal needs fixing, though. It's above my pay grade to know what those fixes are. But every single time they change a rule, something else comes about this. You have the window for the transfer portal, and that's happening before the season's even over. You got teams that are still playing that, they're trying to get ready for a bowl game. They're trying to get ready for a semifinal game. And next year, it's going to change even more because we're going to have a longer playoff period. The national championship game, if I'm not mistaken, isn't going to be played until like January 20th. So the transfer portal is going to be closed by then. I just don't get it. And then you have situations like Alabama right now where, the coach retires and, it could be another team, the head coach gets fired or leaves or whatever. Washington, their head coach left, so the portal's open for them. They're losing guys, but they have to wait until after spring ball to gain anybody back outside of the teams that lost their coach. Those are the only teams that guys can enter the portal. So I don't know what the fix is, whether that means moving the portal back. It was moved to a different time, and then they were like, no, we got to put it on the academic calendar because of those reasons that I talked about earlier with guys having to, withdraw from their classes and register for classes at their new school. I don't know what the fix is, but there's got to be one, man, because at the end of the day, I don't like using the phrase it's unfair because Alabama's, we've been successful for a long time. And people are going to see that, oh, it's unfair. And they're going to be like, oh, well, you don't get everything you want all the time. I've already seen all of it. I've already seen it all. But it is kind of unfair, not just for Alabama, for any team out there that loses their coach and then can't rebuild. I said it earlier, you want to have guys in your program before spring ball. And if you can't do that, then, what are we doing here? Like I said, I don't know what the fix is. Something needs to be done, whether that comes from the NCAA or, college football completely breaking away from the NCAA and just becoming their own thing, which is possible. I think in the future that kind of thing could happen. You saw Chip Kelly bring up something along those same lines about, everybody just becoming one college football, all 130 teams becoming one college football league, if you will, having the revenue sharing, so NIL can be what it was kind of meant to be, and having kids go out there and do commercials and do whatever and be paid for it, because that's great. Because right now NIL is just, we're gonna pay a guy, we're gonna give a guy a Range Rover to go play at Texas, we're gonna give a guy a Ferrari to go play at Ole Miss, whatever. That's not what NIL was initially for. And you know what? At the end of the day, those teams aren't cheating. It is what it is. They're allowed to do this. There's a lot of things, and Nick Saban talked about it a lot. He talked about it a lot, and people said he was complaining. People said he was being a crybaby about things. But at the end of the day, spot the lie. Spot the lie. Man, it's a rough morning, and I ranted a little bit there on some other things, but the news right now, Julian Sayin is entering the NCAA transfer portal. Last question I'm going to pose for you guys. Do you think the transfer portal needs fixing? Y for yes, N for no in the comment section. And make sure you are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. I'm sorry there's no graphics on the screen right now. We're out of the office on Fridays and Saturdays most of the time. And you know what? When things happen, we get a video out for you guys, and we just try to do the best that we can for you guys. So make sure you subscribe right now at the Alabama Football Report.